You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Horses give so much and ask for so little. And that keeps me involved, keeps me wanting to do better. We're always learning, we're always evolving, always trying to unlock the magic in a horse. There are so many horses that can be great horses if they're allowed to be. If they fall into the right hands at the right time, then their careers explode. And it's finding the horse, finding horses that work with you, students that work well together. That's what brings me the most joy.
Welcome to the Practical Horseman podcast, featuring conversations with respected riders, industry leaders, and horse care experts. The show is co-hosted by Practical Horseman editors, and our goal is to inform, educate, and inspire. I'm Kathleen Landwehr, and this week's episode is with Archie Cox, hunter, equitation, and jumper, trainer, and judge. Archie and I spoke in late April as he and his students prepared for the upcoming shows on both the West and East Coasts, including the Oaks Capistrano Cup 1 and 2 and the Devon Horse Show. To give you a little more background on Archie, he grew up competing along the East Coast as a junior rider. He earned numerous equitation ribbons, including at the USEF Hunter Seat Medal Final and the ASPCA Maclay Finals. Archie went on to ride for the equestrian team at Drew University, where he collected team and individual Intercollegiate Horse Show Association titles at the regional and national level. After college, he moved to California in 1992 to work with top hunter-jumper trainer Karen Healey. In December 2000, Archie opened his own business, Brookway Stables, at Middle Ranch in Lakeview Terrace, California. His horses in training and his students have collected numerous champion titles at the country's most prestigious horse shows. In our discussion, Archie talks about what he enjoys about working with horses, one of his favorite training exercises, and what he wants to see in the show ring as a judge. Before getting into the conversation with Archie, I'd like to share a word from this episode's sponsor, Equinavia. Spring is here, and so is the new collection at Equinavia. From breeches to bridles, we outfit riders from head to toe and horses from hoof to head with everything you need to ride in comfort and confidence. Rooted in Scandinavian tradition, our gear blends timeless style with true functionality, so you can focus on what matters most, the ride. The ride begins at equinavia.com. Now, let's jump right into the conversation with Archie, where he begins by talking about why he gravitated toward the hunter and equitation disciplines.
I think that was my upbringing. My upbringing was you did the hunters and the equitation, and as you advanced and got older, you went into the jumper discipline. But it was always that you started hunter and equitation. You learned the basics. You learned a strong foundation in position, in accuracy, in the fundamentals of riding. And I really enjoyed teaching that and seeing how strength in the basics allows you the opportunity to go on and end up at the Olympic Games like Lucy Davis.
Yeah, awesome. That's so true. Yeah, just having, learning the basics and that strong foundation anyone, it was important for anyone, and can take you really far.
Lucy Davis started with me in the hunter and equitation divisions and then continued on as a junior rider to do the jumpers. And some people had asked Mrs. Davis why she continued to do the equitation and the hunters. And Kelly Davis, without missing a beat, she said, because I think accuracy is really important.
Hmm. So, yeah, that's a great point.
And that sums it up. And Lucy
Yeah.
went on to the Olympics at a very young age, and that sums it up.
Right.
In riding horses, you have a strong foundation, and whether it's in the hunters and or equitation, once you have that foundation and those skills, the sky's the limit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's excellent point and so true. And what is it about horses and the sport that have kept you involved for so long and, taken you down your career path that you're on?
Horses and the sport have kept me involved and kept me interested. I think the love of horses is number one. Horses give so much and ask for so little. And that keeps me involved, keeps me wanting to do better. We're always learning, we're always evolving, always trying to unlock the magic in a horse. There are so many horses that can be great horses if they're allowed to be. If they fall into the right hands at the right time, then their careers explode. And it's finding the horse, finding horses that work with you, students that work well together. That's what brings me the most joy.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a special community. And like you said, that's a great point about, horses give us so much, and just doing the best that we can for them is really important. And kind of taking a look back, how did you get your start riding horses?
My start riding horses came through my family and the area in which I lived. I lived on the North Shore of Long Island in Locust Valley, New York. And across the street was Susie Humes, a prominent horsewoman. Up the street was Bunny French, whose mother really helped guide my mother in how to navigate the show world. And I lived up the street from Tracy Topping, an avid amateur rider and huge supporter of the hunter jumper industry. So across the street from Susie Humes, down the street from Bunny French, and up the street from Tracy Topping. And my grandmother, Phyllis Cox, was an avid horsewoman with Morgan horses, the 4-H, and saddle horses. In 1977, she was on the board of directors of what was then the American Horse Show Association, well known as the AHSA. And that evolved into the US Equestrian Federation that we now have. She went on the board in 1977, and exactly 30 years later, I went on the board.
Oh, wow.
In 2007, and my grandmother was fortunate enough to be alive. So, although the board of directors skipped a generation, it's definitely in our blood, so to speak.
Wow, that's very cool. Yeah, just having, your grandmother who is a big support and living near a lot of equestrians. What a great place to be, and you're learning about horses and growing up.
Yeah, so I say it's in my blood, and it was where I lived.
Yeah, very cool.
And those factors have brought me to where I am now.
Oh, wow, yeah. Could you tell me about some of the most important horses that in your life, who they are or were, if they're past horses, and what they were like and why they were influential?
Well, there are a few horses that I've had great success with, quite a few, I suppose. There are a few that stand out. Number one is Laura Wasserman's boss. Laura bought him having done 2 horse shows in America, and he had been a dressage horse. And it really took the team of John French, myself, and Laura to unlock the magic. He was sensitive. He was outstanding. The horse won. Every time he went to the ring, he wanted to win. But he wanted to win his way. And I've always heard great horsemen say, if you stay out of their way, they're going to win. Mm. And that was something Boss did. He was just incredible. Lucy Davis's horse, Patrick, that we bought as a 6 coming 7-year-old from Ralph Caristo, and he had done some equitation only for a few months. I went to Ralph's barn in Florida, and I went in and I saw him, and he was kind of this big gangly chestnut horse, slightly big head. And Ralph just said, just jump around. I've known Ralph my whole life. And he said, just go ahead and jump him. And I jumped 2 small jumps, and I said, that's good, we'll take him.
Oh, wow.
And he said, do you want to jump any more? And I said, no, that was enough. So that was pretty fun. And Lucy rode him for just over 3 years. And he won the medal and the Maclay finals and the Washington finals with, I say, multiple riders. Mm-hmm. And if you switched onto him in the work-off, you won.
Oh, wow.
It's very interesting. Jacob Pope, Elizabeth Benson, Victoria Colvin won on him. But if you switched horses, Sam Schaefer at Washington, if you got to ride Patrick, you won.
Oh, wow.
Stacia Madden texted me the year that Elizabeth Benson switched on to him, and I wasn't at the horse show. She said, what do I need to know? We have Patrick in the swap. And I said, you'll win. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Patrick was one horse. Boss was one horse. And I guess, Stephanie Donhockle had many wonderful horses. Callaway was a big winner. He was a winner at Devon. He was a winner at Washington. And he was unique. His balance was a little bit low. You had to be comfortable riding him where his head was. Mm. And he taught me to let him have his head down. Mm. He wasn't pulling, but his head was low. And it's the horses that teach us. Mm. And a horse like Callaway, he was such a great winner, champion at Washington, reserve at Devon. But we had to do it his way.
Oh, okay.
And those things, they matter the most. That strikes me as not a horse of a lifetime for Stephanie, but he taught us a lot.
Awesome. Very cool. Sounds like a great group of horses, and like you said, working with them and bringing out their magic, and how neat is that they all sounded so, so successful with multiple riders in a lot of cases. So how would you describe your training philosophy with horses?
My training philosophy with horses has certainly evolved. That we're all always learning, and my training philosophy is keep repeating and rewarding what they do well. And oftentimes their faults just simply go away. Peter Lombardo told me a phrase that I remembered and I think of as I'm teaching frequently. If you're always correcting the horse never knows if it's doing it right. So if you keep rewarding the horse, keep telling them that they're good, that they're doing it, yeah, you have to show them a little bit. I say you have to show them how to do it correctly. And if you show them how to do it correctly and it becomes your habit, it's your habit to go straight, it's your habit to bend, and you just keep reinforcing that, it just happens.
Yeah.
And I believe every one of my horses and riders can walk in the ring and win. Someone's going to win the class. It may as well be us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I am a big believer in that.
Yes. Oh, that's what a nice, positive outlook. And, you and your students are working hard all the time at home. And
one of the parents said a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, she said, that's the first WCE medal that she's won. And I said, that's impossible. She wins every single week. And the mom said, no, she's never won one of these medals.
Oh.
And I said, well, I just believe she wins every week.
Yeah.
I am going to will it. I'm going to will it to happen. And it does.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
All I thought was, it's impossible. Of course she's won this.
Yeah.
Well, in reality, she was probably only 13 years old and I suppose hadn't won it, but I believe she's one of the best riders out there. And now Violet Tatum wins all the classes.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely heard
her name. When her mother said that's the first time she's won the WCE, that's impossible. She wins them all the time.
Yeah. First time of many.
Yes.
So kind of thinking a little bit about your students, how would you describe your teaching style?
My teaching style is very positive. It's very relaxed with parameters. Follow the instructions. I will try very hard to rephrase things, phrase things differently, do things differently. I can tell you to put your heel down 100 times, but the one time I tell you to put your toe up, suddenly your heel is down. So it's finding what works for each individual person.
No, absolutely.
And that's something that
when you hear something said differently, it just clicks.
Oh my God, someone put your heel down, and then keep your toe up. Suddenly your heel is down. Yeah. And I think to myself, well, that was easy. Why didn't I say that before? And it's learning how people learn, which is part of the enjoyment. I say their parameters, like it's very relaxed, but it's very serious. It's just reviewing the basics. It's reviewing the rein aids. It's reviewing different speeds. Of course, whether it's in the hunters, jumpers, or equitation, is putting a series of different elements and different speeds together, making it look effortless and invisible. That's our goal. And when you can do that, that means you've practiced it, you've done it slowly, then you do it a little faster. And you make the uncomfortable seem okay. It's easy to do a medal class, a hunter class, going slow. Time allowed is a big factor in the jumper medals and in the jumper classes. It's easy to do it going slowly. Now turn it up a little bit and go a little faster. Now make it look effortless going a little faster. Then you have McLean Ward, Beezy Madden, Laura Kraut. They make it look effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Kent Farrington won the medal finals as a junior.
Right.
Make it look effortless at the speed of light.
I love that. Yeah. Well, yeah. And like you said, look at those great group who've gone on from their, own past equitation successes.
Equitation and hunter. Laura Kraut will tell you she was a hunter rider.
Mm-hmm.
She was a hunter rider, and that hunter riding gave her that, it was a God-given talent of accuracy.
Yeah.
That accuracy. Beezy Madden, she did her first Grand Prix in her mid-20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was so much emphasis in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Accuracy matters. Position matters. You watch any of those 5-star riders, it's beautiful. You watch the Olympic Games, they're from one jump to another, they're out of the saddle. A short turn, it's a deeper seat. To gallop and then jump off from one to another, they're in their 2-point, they're flying. Short turn, down in the heel, settle down. It's rehearsing that time after time after time. And a great trainer said, there are 3 types of riders. Some are born with it, some learn it, and some never get it. That's just reality. But the person that puts in the hours of the trying and the effort, they go the furthest because they're the most disciplined, and they do it with their heart. So desire will get you the furthest.
It's very good. Yeah, very good thing to think of, and when you're, in anyone in their equestrian pursuits.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite kind of training exercise, and why is it your favorite, and can you describe it?
Training exercises, I like bounce. I like a bounce maybe on the end of the ring, and then a single jump on the side of the ring. And I like the idea that you can practice a following hand through the bounce, and then depending on the degree of the bend, you can learn to come into the distance by cutting in a little bit. You can stay out of stride by going out. Single jump on the side of the ring. You can land, make a downward transition comfortably. You can land with a focal point and gallop to the end of the ring. I like having a large distance from the landing side of the jump to the rail. It's easier on the horses, the concussion on their legs. Pulling a horse up right away is harder on their legs. I like that you can land off of a single jump on the side of the ring and really concentrate on a focal point, on riding to that straightness, gradually slowing down. I'm a great listener. And Katie Monahan Prudent, Devon, must have been in the 90s or early 2000s, maybe even the 80s, unsure. I heard her tell Allison Firestone Robitaille, there are 2 ways to slow a horse down. You can do it quickly, or you can do it gradually over 4, 5, 6, 7 strides. Over a single jump on the side of the ring, that's you can practice that. You can practice doing that. Land Gradually come back, collect, make a nice turn, whether then go around the first part of the turn, you can make a half turn in reverse. Practice hand galloping back over that jump. Landing, settling, slowing up, back through the bounce. I would have more than 3 elements in an exercise. But jumping a jump on a little bit of a diagonal. So I envision maybe left lead the bounce. Nice following hand through there. Helps you with your balance. Gallop nicely in, maybe 5, 6, 7 strides to your oxer. End of the ring, gradually slow down. Half turn in reverse. Go through the first part of the turn, a diagonal line in, a right hand turn, set your pace around the end of the ring, hand gallop that oxer, practice a different speed. Land, slow down. Go around the end of the ring to a jump on the diagonal. Say the end of what would be a diagonal line. Jump that jump. Make a smooth left-hand turn, relatively short. You can make it short, medium, or wide. And you can start again with the bounce. So you're just sort of playing around with a few fences, going at different speeds with different releases and different positions. Through the bounce, you're out of the saddle. In the line, you're out of the saddle. To the single jump, the 5, 6, 7 strides. Away from the jump, slow it down, gradually getting a deeper seat. For the little turn and then left turn, a little right turn. Then you're back out of the saddle for the hand gallop. Hand gallop that jump. Land, settle it down. You want to step over the jump on the diagonal. Smooth left. Gradually loosen up again. Back through the bounce. Those are all the types of things that I like to use in a lesson, in a clinic, because it gives you a lot of exposure. It gives you a lot of sort of play with the distance, and you can teach someone, far off of the bounce, you might really have to go in. So you got to land and go. You got to land and be looking and believing for that 5. Or staying out and steadying up in 7. And this can all be done over low fences. So that might have been more than you wanted, but there's your riding lesson.
Yeah, there's just, so much you can work on with that exercise. And
Yep, and incorporating transitions. You can incorporate, instead of a half turn in reverse on the end of the ring, you can canter to what would be A or C on the end of the ring. And you could make a turn on the forehand, make a walking turn on the haunch.
Yeah.
And you have enough space to then get back to the oxer. You can always, away from the jump, what you do away from the jump is just as important as what you do to the jump. And having a little exercise to keep you and the horse focused. Horses and riders have to learn concentration.
Yeah, that's so true. And, what a, great way to work on that at home, your ring with that exercise that not necessarily overly complicated, but there's a lot you can do with it.
And you can practice doing it a little slower, doing it a little faster, doing it, like I say, working within different speeds within 4 or 5 jumps, 6 jumps, different speeds, different positions. And we say electric to the aids. You can practice out of the bounce, a little cluck. Practice that cluck. as you make your half turn in reverse on the end of the ring. Get out of your saddle, practice a cluck. So you're ready with it at any time, and your horse is responsive. That's what it comes down to, is the rider understanding the task and the horse reacting. And really learning, you can slow down gradually, you can slow down quickly. You can, in the downward, which is just simply slowing down, you're saying whoa. In the upward, you're adding a cluck. So the horse is thinking, and the horse is waiting for instruction from you. And you've practiced it enough, and then a horse show is a test to see how well practiced you are.
Awesome. Yeah, that's such a great point. All that, hard work at home and then showing it off in the show ring and hopefully finding success.
Yes.
And in addition to you being a coach and trainer, you're also a judge. What do you enjoy about being a judge?
I enjoy being a judge for multiple reasons. I enjoy seeing where the sport is, making sure that we're maintaining standards, beautifully turned out horses, beautifully turned out ponies, green riders, the pony division, seeing how giving the horses and the ponies are to their riders. That really is the icing on the cake. Seeing little ponies, the only reason they are performing is desire. They could throw those little kids off and just step on them and start eating grass. That little 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids, seeing them learning from the ponies and the ponies trying, that's awesome to watch when you're judging.
Oh, yeah.
And, when you're judging, I'm lucky enough, I judge some very big shows and I judge some more regional shows. And really seeing the pride people take in their horses, the love of the sport, that's what makes me the happiest, seeing all that. And knowing that one of those little kids might be the next McLean Ward or Beasley Madden or Kent Farrington.
Yeah, that's so neat to think about, so many people go to horse shows and compete there, and it just, the culmination of a lot of hard work. And
yep,
like you said, who knows where people might end up in the future. Do you have any tips for people to have, for riders to have a standout hunter or equitation round? Anything that judges are looking for that riders should remember when they go in the ring?
Tips for a standout round in equitation or hunters. I say efficient, beautifully turned out, horse care, the pride you have in your own turnout. Emily Williams, who's just a top-notch rider that has won that Hunter Spectacular in Palm Beach 4 times.
Oh, wow.
She helped me some last year, and she said, your turnout is one thing you can control. And I tell all my students that, how you look, how you walk up to the ring is one thing you can control. Your turnout is something that stands out. Being efficient in your track in equitation, I say there's a difference between efficient and in a hurry.
Mm.
Confidently be efficient. The person in a hurry looks unsure, looks scared, looks nervous. And watch the better riders. Go watch Emily Williams, Scott Stewart. Watch those people that have the opportunity at a horse show. Watch Jane Gaston. Watch simply how big their opening circle is or their closing circle. Then go watch little kids. And you'll realize they look like they're afraid to be in the ring. Where Jane Gaston, she's trotting out of that ring saying, I dare you not to give me a 90.
Right.
Because she has showed them how to do it. And Jane is a good friend of mine. But a great horseman said, go in the ring like the winner and come out of the ring like you've won. Go in the ring like a winner, come out like you've won. Those riders that are sort of shaking their heads or look unsure. If you feel unsure, you might be giving that perception, and that's going to go into any judge's scoring.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point.
And I can tell you, any rider in any hunter equitation class on the flat, your first pass when you go in that ring is your most important. That is an instant opinion is formed in anyone's head. Have your number card to the outside. Make sure your number card can slide on your string. Show me your number card. I don't want to look for it. I don't want to be straining and, what is the bay with the girl in the green coat? What's her number? Like trying to look for it. That is annoying. Make it easy for me to let you win.
Yeah, that's so important. The first impressions go a long way.
First impression in a flat class, in a hunter class, when you trot by me and I put your number, it's either top, middle, or bottom. That first impression, top, middle, or bottom. And that's, you can move within that, but so make my tip is make that first impression count. And efficient and fast are different words. Boring is pretty straightforward. Don't bore me. Go the right speed.
Okay. They're good.
Go the right speed. Go the speed that your horse is comfortable with. And if you need to watch and you want to learn about speed and pace, you go watch John French.
Mm.
John French has the ability to go the right speed on every horse.
Wow.
It's pace, not fast. Years ago, I stood at Capital Challenge with my friend Corinne Beavis, and John was riding a horse for me. And the horse went around the ring, and we're whooping and cheering. And I said, he'll win. And Corinne said, how do you know that? I said, he went the right speed. 90, blue ribbon. I said, there's pace that a horse is. John has a unique ability to get the horse to go the correct hunting pace without the horse's legs moving fast. And I urge anyone, watch him show Milagro. I'm just thinking of, I can just envision these horses, they go the right speed.
Mm.
And you put someone else on them and they don't go the right speed. It's not the horse. It is John French knows the correct pace. Holly Orlando, a beautiful rider. She is, to me, I so enjoy when she comes in the ring. She gives me a riding lesson. And all these people have videos. It's so easy. It's all on the internet now. It's free to everyone. Just put their names in and watch them go the right speed. Holly rides with a beautiful, what I consider traditional, a little longer stirrup than most people. Take a look. Her boots, her turnout is perfect. There's certain things your turnout you can control. Holly, these riders, they're elite riders. Holly Orlando, John French, Scott Stewart, Nick Hannes, they're the elite. But watch one thing that they do. Watch their eyes. Concentrate on, watch Holly's hands. 90% of the time she has a crop. She rides correctly. It's just a treat to go to these shows and get a riding lesson from them. And then it's equally as enjoyable to go to a more regional show and see how hard every person on those grounds are trying to do it right.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so true about how much you can learn from watching others and just, appreciating all the work that everyone's putting in.
Mm-hmm.
So we covered most of my questions, just kind of a couple wrap-up questions.
Sure.
What is the hardest part of the sport for you?
The hardest part of the equestrian world to me is disappointment.
Mm.
Lame horses, bad luck, bad timing. That is the hardest part. The easiest part for me is walking in that ring and teaching people.
Mm.
Walking to the ring with a good horse and a good rider is just a treat. The hardest part of this sport is the disappointment, because reality is life's not fair. There will always be someone with more, and there will always be someone with less. And Mousie Williams, she said one thing about horses and horse showing is some days you're going to win and some days you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's life. She said it evens itself out in the end. And that's what, and I'll always remember that. It evens itself out. You go to enough horse shows, you got to remember the times that you get lucky. Maybe the rail didn't fall down in the jumpers when you hit it hard. Maybe your horse just touched it with its cornet band and boom, it goes down. Maybe your horse skips its lead change and you still get an 85 because there was a jump between you and the judge. They're all different factors, but disappointment is probably one of the toughest. It's the toughest to deliver, I say.
Mm.
So
yeah,
that's the hardest part.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's very true. And,
horses and teaching, going in the ring and teaching someone on a beautiful sound horse or on any willing participants, that's easy.
Right.
But when they pull up after the last jump and the horse has stung itself and on 3 legs, you're like, this is the hard part.
Right.
We just bought this horse. All went well. Suddenly it has an abscess. These things do happen.
Yeah, that's true. There's, working through those disappointments and kind of, finding the easier moments or happier moments to kind of relish in and remember during the kind of tougher spots.
But it's the hard moments that keep us coming back.
It's true.
We got to keep the dream alive.
Yes. So do you have any advice that you would give your younger self?
That I would give my younger self? Well, I would repeat my life entirely the same. The only thing I would do differently is I would not have been a smoker as a young person. The rest of it, I rode in a clinic when I was 13 years old, and great horseman said, pay attention. You have to pay attention. And from that day, let me tell you something, I pay more attention than anyone that knows me, works with me, works for me. I can tell you the wrong girth is on from 100 yards away. I can tell you the first thing I do is look at their feet. I pay attention. And that was the best advice that I was ever given.
Awesome.
But I would repeat, I'm very happy with my life, my career. The only thing I would do is not have smoked. But it's been 25 years since I smoked, so
nice.
It's not too much of a hardship.
Yeah. So kind of just want to wrap up question. What's next for you and your students and your horses? What shows are on the horizon?
Oh, my students and my horses, we're getting ready to go for a few weeks to the Oaks. And then we go on to Devon, and then showing in and around California for the summer, Kentucky in August, and the indoor shows in the fall.
Awesome. Sounds like a great...
Yeah, we had a great winter. We've been off and running this spring with a super group of horses and riders, and just enjoying waiting for the next lesson to start.
Thanks for listening to this week's conversation with Archie Cox, and a big thank you to the episode's sponsor, Equinavia. Learn more at equinavia.com. You can subscribe to the Practical Horseman podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. While you're there, please rate and review the show. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Kathleen Landwehr, and you've been listening to the Practical Horseman podcast.